Hey everyone, it's Tracey, and it's another black screen. And, these happen only when I feel like I really want to share, like, in depth in me, important things that I just want to talk about, because I usually know that it's just not me dealing with these kind of things. And I just want other people to know that other people feel exactly like they do. And I've just been thinking recently, listen, it's funny, this year of van life has probably been the hardest as much as with the van, running into troubles and getting COVID while I've been traveling, and just it seemed like one thing after another. But I also have to tell you that it's probably been the most fulfilling time of my life, and the most learning about myself, and the most content I've been with myself and with my situation, just all around, with my life. And I think sometimes people see other people on social media and think, they have it all. Boy, their life looks easy. Gosh, I wish I could do that. And, here's the thing. You can. Anything that you want, I know you can accomplish. And I know that there's obstacles to everything. And I think a lot of times it's because, we don't have people to support us. And a big thing this last week, which I've been thinking about today because it didn't even affect me, is Valentine's Day. Do you know, I didn't even know it was Valentine's Day. And then I was talking to my bosses. I work for a process serving place, and they're like, oh, I gotta go. Valentine's Day, da 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 da. And I'm like, yeah, great, go have fun with your family, and truly jazz for them with nothing taken away from me. And I don't, I know there's a lot of people out there who are feeling sad because they're like, oh, I wish I had a Valentine. I wish I had someone to, a partner to love me. And I think for me, why I want to talk tonight, it's about it. And I know it sounds so cliche. It is about finding the love in yourself, where those outside things, like those holidays and stuff, where you may feel lonely, that once you have that in yourself, that you don't feel that way when those times come around. And it's not to say that those feelings are wrong, not in the least bit. But I think too, there's a couple things I wanted to share that in my own life, I had somebody recently tell me not to tell my story. It was just regarding one part. And I was like, well, no, that's not going to happen. That's my story. That makes up the fabric of me. That is my life. And I want you to know that whatever your past is your story, which has weaved you into who you are now. And you should never feel ashamed of that, or feel sorry to somebody for that. And there's a couple things I've been thinking about recently Um, I just been thinking a lot recently, and this is hard to talk about because, like, I take the ego out of myself, if that makes sense. That so I'm gonna go way back to like high school or even grade school. I was lonely. I used to like pretend I was in the Mickey Mouse Club. I had these ears because I thought they were the coolest, you know. And I spent a lot of time alone. I came from a family of 6, but I was the youngest. So my oldest sister was out of the house. Most of my older siblings were out of the house. And because there's a big age gap between all of us. And then a lot of times I felt in the way because if they had to babysit me, you know, it's like, why do we have to babysit Tracey? Da 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 da. So, you know, I played make-believe. And I think that that's what kids do. And that's the thing, that's what's sad now, is that a lot of kids just are on social media or they're playing games or something like that. So I actually am thankful that I got to create these scenarios for myself, these happy scenarios, you know, where I was just playing make-believe. And, you know, I'm not embarrassed to say that because that's what kids should do. And even in our adult lives, you know, I hope you realize, like, I'm the first one to laugh at me. I don't get embarrassed if I say something the wrong way or if, you know, I'm sure somebody's going to tell me, and I always let you guys know, and I'm never, you know, it never hurts my feelings when somebody tells me that because honestly, I think it's funny and I think I'm quirky. And I think that's part of my personality, which actually I truly like about myself. And then when I was in high school, you know, I was really into sports. Sports was my outlet. And in high school, I got cystic acne. And it's funny that things like that you're embarrassed about and you feel so low. And I think maybe this made me think of it because I told you the story about my eyes. And, you know, it's something I had no control over. And I remember my mom taking me to dermatology appointments, you know, doing everything she could to help me. And that's what I've done for my daughter because I know how much it helped or how much it affects you and makes you hide from people. And, you know, recently told you in my last video about the eyewear that I have people reach out to me from all over the world because I shared my story about my eyes because I couldn't find anything about my condition and what would help it on the internet. I went into black holes every day looking for something to help me. And so I understand how these people feel. And this woman, she's young, she's in her 20s, she's married, and she reached out to me and she said, I hate to admit this, but sometimes I want to unalive myself because I feel so low. And I've been there before. And I don't want anyone else to have to feel that way from something that they had no control over. And, you know, even if you've made mistakes in your past, there's always redemption. There's always forgiveness. There's always a way to redeem yourself. And so I was on Accutane twice. And I don't know if I told this story, but the boy I was so in love with in high school, my high school boyfriend. Remember one time we were under the lights, you know, outside the gym, those fluorescent lights. And I would try to wear makeup to hide, you know, these big pimples on my face. They weren't even pimples. They were like big, you know, hurtful. They hurt. And that's why you can never forget about them because they hurt. And, you know, I know high school. And we were under the lights and he said, why do you even wear makeup? It just makes them look worse. And this was someone that I was so enthralled with, and I just wanted to crawl into a hole and just not be. I just wanted to disappear. And I know most of us have felt that way sometime throughout our lives. And then, I got in my 20s, and then that's when my sister got sick. And I was 28 when she passed away. She was 42. And, then her husband got a brain tumor. He had that removed. And then he had like 5 more years to live. And then he found out he had a tumor around his carotid artery. And he was wealthy. He was very smart, a very nice man. And nobody would operate on him because they said, he could have had the top surgeon in the world. And no money was going to save him because nobody would operate on him because they said you would probably die on the operating table. And so sometimes money isn't going to save you. And then, like I said, so talking about ego and stuff, so I just want to talk about looks for a minute. So, when people think you're pretty and you're growing up, you're putting these holes like, oh, she's pretty, he's smart, she's funny. You're always like known as something, but that's only a part of you. That's not all of you. And so we think if we don't live up to those expectations, because that's when we think that's what's expected of us, because we're put in these like boxes. And, being pretty is not going to save you. Being handsome is not going to save you from any heartache in your life. And sometimes it even makes it harder, and it seems so shallow to talk about. But what I'm trying to get across is that when you're put in a box, nobody looks any further than the box. They're just keeping you there, and you're like, but I'm so much more. I'm so much more than that. I'm a person. I'm a human. I have feelings like everyone else. And, words can hurt me. Sorry, it cut me off because I didn't have enough black boxes. So I had to add more. But, words can hurt you. We're all human. And, my daughter is going to college to be a teacher, and she's in her last semester. And so she does student teaching. And I was just talking to her the other day, and she teaches kindergartners, so they're 6 years old. And she said that there was a boy, and he was crying all day, like they couldn't. And they had known he had been homeless before. And they assumed, because of how he was acting now, that he's homeless again. Can you imagine being 6 years old and homeless? And she said that she just stopped and she said to him, "Would you like a hug?" And he said yes. And so she hugged him. And he stopped crying. That's all he wanted, was a hug that made him feel safe. And it's not just 6-year-olds, or maybe it's the 6-year-old and some of us adults, that all we want is a hug, or we just want somebody to see us. And I think a lot of times with social media, that's what we're doing. We're trying to connect, and we just want somebody to see us. And I get that. And, I never started my journey out thinking that this is what it was going to be. I'm not your normal van lifer. I'd never seen a van lifer do like these black screens like I do, and get pretty deep, because I'm everything. Do you know what I mean? I'm silly. I love to make people laugh. I love to do art. I love to do all this stuff. But once, I came on this journey for a healing journey. If you followed me, you know that that's why I got in the van and left, because I needed to find some sort of healing in myself. And what's interesting is I can tell you now, sitting in a Walmart parking lot, I'll be at the place tomorrow. Me and Keith and John will all be together tomorrow at the same place. That I have never felt more content in my life. And John and Keith have been a huge part of that. I got to add more black boxes. Okay, I'm back. Added more black boxes. And it's funny how serendipity happens. As I was doing that, my daughter called me and she was crying. She's a senior in college, and I told you that she's a teacher, and she's worried about money. And thank God for all the jobs that I've gotten, because now I can give her more money to help her feel less stressed. And she feels guilty. And I'm like, Jessie, I love you. I said, if you have a kid, you do the same thing. And we just have 12 weeks to get through this. And I'm just so grateful for the things that have come into my life now that I can help her get through these last weeks of college. And, she was just like, I love you, Mom. Thank you for being the best mom. And those are the moments I live for. And then she told me, she thought she had told me this story, but she was talking about this little girl who had said her birthday was coming up, and she was hoping that they get to celebrate. And I said, well, why wouldn't they get to celebrate? And she said, because her dad has a check coming up, and she's hoping that he would use it so that they could celebrate her birthday. And then that brings it all back to reality. Our kids are suffering because of the things us adults are doing. But anyway, I want to get back to Keith and John. So I've told you before how I've never felt like held or protected. And two guys that I met at a clothes optional campground, just because I thought it would be a cool video, and I had never been to one. I met them for 2 days, ended up staying for 4 because they were so great. We stayed in touch the whole time, and now they're like the brothers that I never had. They are like, Tracey, we'll fix your window while you're gone. I'm like, oh, already done. I'm so used to taking care of myself and taking care of other people. I'm like, already done, but even making videos, they're like, we're there. Hey, what are we doing for an adventure this week? Hey, when's cooking with Keith, And it's so great. And I feel like I found my people. And just know that sometimes your people aren't just your family. They're people that you'll just randomly meet along the way. And I hope your heart is open enough to accept that. And I don't know if mine was before. And that was the whole point of this van journey. I know people think they're going to find out, I tell you about, listen, I am not technical, and I tell you about batteries and coolers and, all this stuff. But the whole point of this was my healing journey. And I think, honestly, I've reached it. I think I love myself. And I think I can open my heart to love other people. And not that I didn't before, I care for people so much. And if you have seen videos with my mom, Joy, you know where I get it from. But I don't want you to lose hope, because if you didn't have that, if you didn't have a Joy in your life, there's other people that will give that to you. And again, we all just want to be seen. We all just want to be loved. We all just want our birthdays to be celebrated. And you don't need money to celebrate a birthday. So, yeah. I'm going to wrap this up because the black boxes go pretty quick. And I guess I'm pretty chatty. So, yeah, I started out, I don't want to say low, but after talking to my daughter and we were laughing by the end, that just put me in a good mood, and talking about Keith and John. And just know you can meet your Keith and John anywhere. And will you do me a huge favor? Like I said, people just want to be seen. I had a cashier today, and she had the prettiest blue eyes. And I said, wow, your eyes are beautiful. And she was like, thank you. Again, just somebody wanting to be seen. And that's all you have to do. It may seem weird at first, but the more you practice it, the easier it gets, and you will not miss an opportunity to tell someone something nice about themselves. And get in that habit. It's so easy for us to say something mean to someone, but once you get in the habit of saying something nice to someone, that's just when you see their face light up, then that's what you're going to want to keep doing. So, okay, I'm going to close this out because my black boxes are running out. All right. Go out and make an adventure, no matter how big or how small. You don't have to sell everything and move into a van. I did that. Whatever you think will heal you or help jazz you about something or get you back into life, do that. Go call someone you love. And as Joy says, tell them that you love them. Go give somebody a compliment. And don't you dare forget your magic. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.